Hello, my name is Mark Taylor. Welcome to the Education on Fire podcast network. This show is sponsored by the National Association for Primary Education. There comes a time in every person's life when you realise it's not about doing what you are told, but doing what you know is right for you. Let us take a journey of learning and discovery with the world's most successful people who are living the life of their dreams, walking through life using their inner wisdom and being of service to others. Forget exams, grades and test scores. What is your purpose? As we let go of what we think should be and learn from our elders to gain knowledge, inspiration and a true sense of who we are. What are your dreams? Does your life have meaning? Are you living a life of significance? Let's talk with today's guest. Hello, welcome back to the Learning on Fire podcast. My name is Mark Taylor. This week we have a slightly different episode. My daughter's just started listening to the podcast and we were chatting about there's so much great content and advice and wisdom being shared week in, week out, that I thought actually maybe having a compilation kind of show where we can actually take one or two of the questions and put them together and hear the answers back to back might be an interesting thing to do. And use the question, what was the best piece of advice you've ever been given and who gave it to you? And put the answers to each of those all in one place. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to increase this week in, week out. So over the next few weeks, we're going to share a few of these so we get through all of the guests so we can hear what these questions and what these answers are. And also, because they're sharing great resources which they've used as well, I'm going to compile a document that you'll be able to download where they've shared all those things as well. So we've got some easy access then to some of the best content there. So if you've listened to all the episodes, then you'll know all this already. But if you haven't visited all the show notes or you haven't heard them all, this is just a way of giving you some great snippets and some pearls of wisdom for you to be able to get your teeth into. Hope you enjoyed the episode. Let me know what you think. You can email me, mark@educationonfire.com, and I hope you enjoy the show. What was the best piece of advice you've ever been given, and who gave it to you?
I'm going to say Robin Brindell, who is a lady. She is the partner of a guy called John Chaplin, who was the founding stage manager, the Dewan Philharmonic Petronas, which was the home of the Malaysian Philharmonic Orchestra. And his wife was an avid concert goer, and we became very good friends. And I'm still in touch with them both. They live in Australia now, and we touch base once in a while and catch up with things. She is a very wise woman, and I think a great deal of my personal development is down to conversations where she has challenged my paradigm at the time. Yeah, and I'd say only choose decisions that make you stronger. That's what I'm going to say.
I don't know who gave it to me. I think the best, lesson I learned just growing up is just follow your passion. And I've heard that from just random people. It's just truly just follow your passion. That is the key. And not follow what you're told to follow as far as career choice, and because it sidetracks you. And I studied successful people, I want to say in my mid-20s, so it was after college. And I just was I was looking at certain people, just saying, why is that person successful? Why is this person successful? For example, certain people in the arts, like singers, or, visual artists, animators, and look at them. And one thing I constantly saw was that they stuck with the same thing for a very, very long time. They didn't hop around and test out and try different careers. They simply stuck with one thing and just pursued it. Even politicians, people who run for public office, they stuck with it. They stayed in it for a very long time. Teachers, and that was the main thing that I saw, was these people discovered their passion and just stayed with it. It wasn't the attraction of money that got them into that. It wasn't the attraction of prestige. Now, a lot of those, what do you call those badges of honor that we think are cool, that can attract a lot of people. So say, for example, I want to be a hip hop, star, be a rapper. Well, I'm going to go out there and learn how to rap just for the money. Well, I won't be rapping very long. So if it's just the money, well, there's no creativity, there's no burning desire for the art form itself, then I won't stay with it. So that was the best thing that I guess the kind of that advice growing up that I learned was like, just follow your passion. I'd heard it before, but I didn't fully understand it until I was in like my mid 20s. And that's when it was like, it circled me back to my love as a child, which was drawing.
Consistently, the person that has given me the best advice in the most pivotal years of my life was this old guy named Red. He's now passed on. But one of the things that he said to me, he would kind of give me tough love and tell me the truth, and I did not like it at the time. But I would always walk away from whenever he gave me advice, and I would always ask myself if there was any truth in what he said, even though I may have not liked it at the time. I would always ask myself, was there truth in it? And I would inevitably find that, yes, there was truth in it. He saw me very clearly. And one of the things that he said to me is he sat me down and he pulled out a little piece of yellow paper. And I remember this, and this was many years ago, but I remember it like it was yesterday. And he drew a picture of a basketball court. He was a big Indiana University basketball fan. And he said, "Seth, look at this. This is a basketball court." I'm like, okay. He said, "See this? This is where the audience sits. This is where you pay tickets to watch. And this is the court, and this is where people play the game." And I'm like, okay. He's like, "Life is not a spectator sport. Only a small percentage of people actually get in there and play the game. Get in there and play the game." And that metaphor for me definitely stuck with me, and thinking, you know what? We can live life pretty unconsciously, pretty mindlessly, pretty numb, pretty reactive. We can just kind of do what we've learned and not really question things, and just kind of be a robot and go through life kind of numbing out and just kind of, watching TV or drinking beer all the time or playing video games all the time or doing whatever people do to kind of forget about life and kind of miss out on the fact that life is not a spectator sport. We can get in there and really engage in life, the whole gamut of life, really experience sadness in a good way where we're processing it, really experience even emotions like anger in a good way where we're looking for the messages that anger gives us, really experience joy and happiness and peace in a very, very deep way, not a surfacey way, not just going to just, quote, have fun, but to really experience the depth of joy that's available to us on a deeper level, on a very real personal level, to really engage in life, not just sort of drift through life and not, he used to say, don't cope, live, not to just cope with life, but to live and engage with life, to get in the game, to be a player, to take the risks, to win, to lose, to get hurt, but also to experience, it's not all about that, but to really experience the whole gamut, but really when it's good, to really know how to enjoy it and appreciate it when it's good, and to be grateful for the people that we have in our life, even if they annoy me, even if they get on my nerves. The fact is that the great people in my life give me so much more good than bad. And there are so many wonderful people in my life, and wonderful opportunities and things. And so just to really be alive, not just cope, but to be alive and play the game and not be a spectator.
The best piece of advice that I have ever received is just so simple, and it was from a Girl Scout leader, and she said, "Be yourself, but be yourself loudly." And I've always appreciated that because people, if you've been around me, Mark, we were at the live event together. I'm not the most quiet person, so I can be quite loud. I can really be passionate about what I'm saying, to the point, I worry. I used to really worry that it was too much, that I was pushing people away with that. And she was like, no, these are your passions. If I was really passionate about somebody being mistreated, something had happened. And this is where that conversation came from. But in Girl Scouts, we were always there. We were always together. And they always encouraged us to be really supportive of each other. And there was an argument. And I really felt that one of the girls was being mistreated by another one. And I stood up for her. And I was so passionate about it. And the leader's like, you have a heart for this. And you should never shut that down. Like, be yourself loudly. And I thought, gosh, no one tells me to be loud. No one tells me to be loud. But it was such a good thing to be affirmed that way, to be loved and appreciated and known for who I was, and being encouraged to be that anyway. I think so many kids feel like they have to really protect what others see of them. And this woman really allowed me just to be me. And so that was just really powerful.
The best piece of advice that I've been given, and who gave it to me, it would have to be my mentor, Steve. He once told me the same thing I did for you, do for somebody else. And that was like the turning point of what started this whole idea of I can have my dreams fulfilled and still help others fulfill their dreams set in. Because growing up for me, it was just like, I want to make it out. 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 And that's all we talked about and we thought about, is for us individually making it out. But then along the way, when I asked my mentor, I said, how do I pay you back? And that's when he said that the same thing I did for you, do for somebody else. That's how you pay me back. I was like, oh, I get it. So I started really assessing my life and thinking like, man, if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't even be in a position to call him on the phone and ask him this question. So if he had singularly this much influence and impact on my life, how much more can I impact others' lives, and how much more can they impact others' lives? And if we kept that chain going, becoming successful, and also building what we call successors, then the world would be a million times better, because I'm helping you get up the ladder while I go up the ladder as well. So I'm not just climbing up the ladder, knock the ladder down and say, hey, you got to find your own ladder to get up here, right? It's just like, no, let's go up the ladder together. And so I think like that is what sparked the idea of, okay, I can pay my mentor back by mentoring. So that's where Champs came into play.
We've had a lot of good advice. I ran across a great mentor, Dr. Tom Fleck. Dr. Fleck is considered a pioneer of American youth soccer, and he's written books. People know about him. There are awards named after him. Again, I've been fortunate to run across him. He saw something in me that I didn't see in myself, and he gave me a chance to rise up in the world of soccer. But he told me a few things that I've lived by. First thing is, he said, if you're going to coach kids, you've got to get inside the belly of a 9-year-old, and you've got to see the world from that perspective. And if you can't do that, then you're not going to be as effective. I've always tried to remember that. Another thing he said is be an original. There's plenty of cookie cutters out there. Give the world a reason to think that you're a little different. Don't be afraid of being an original. And he said, when you lose your fire, it's time to get out. If you don't wake up every single day excited to get after it, that's the day you need to leave. Dr. Fleck taught me that stuff. There was a guy named Pat Logan that I worked with. Really smart, wise teacher. Worked many years with him. And I was younger in my teaching career. He was older. And he saw the value of PE and the value of recess, actually. He believed in recess, just free playtime at school, as one of the most important times at school. And we would go out there and supervise recess together. And he taught me a lot about why that was so. And whenever there was a problem at recess, in my young teaching self would charge over there to solve the problem and fix things, right? And this is the thing we're trying to tell people not to do. Let the kids sort it out, right? Well, Pat would never stop me from doing that, and he would never say anything to me about doing that. And then one day, when I was getting ready to go charge over and solve another problem, he said to me, "Go and split that baby, Solomon." And I'm thinking, what did he just tell me? I didn't understand it. I went around, I solved the problem. I played the sheriff of the playground, fixed the thing that happened. I came back. I said, "Pat, what does that mean?" And essentially what he was saying was, "Hey man, you're running over there to fix problems. You're splitting babies in half. You can't split babies in half. Let the pack sort it out. It'll take care of it." That's another person that taught me a lot was my stepson Rob and my other stepson Brian. They taught me so much. And Rob, one of Rob's favorite things is let the pack sort it out. My wife, Karen, with my daughter who was a picky eater, she taught me probably more about teaching than anybody I've ever met. And one of the things she taught me was creating choices for people that result in what you want to happen no matter what. And so, in other words, her thing was, if we want to get Katie to eat broccoli, what we say is, "Katie, would you like to eat the broccoli with the spoon or the fork?" And either one is fine. And Katie would choose a spoon. There goes the broccoli. It doesn't matter what that one little choice was. The bottom line, the broccoli was eaten. Too often we get in arguments with people about things that we don't have to argue about. And Karen taught me this little tactic of creating another choice that gives the person who wants to argue the feeling like they've won some kind of an argument over you. But the real important thing actually happened that you wanted all along. That was great stuff. I've got so many more. So many people have helped me so much. But those would be some that I would say. Another one, Dixie Swenson. I worked in the John Anderson for President campaign in 1980. And that was a third-party candidate with the campaign between Ronald Reagan and Jimmy Carter for the 1980 presidency. I was a campaign manager, and Dixie Swenson was a campaign manager on a bit of a higher level. And we used to do campaign events. And Dixie Swenson said, always plan rallies with the idea that everything's going to fall apart, and then have a plan for that. And if you can have a plan for that, you can have a plan for everything. I've always approached every class, what if this class totally falls apart? Then what am I going to do? And when you know what you're going to do in the worst moment, you're calm, because the worst moment hits, you already have an answer for it. That's been a great piece of advice that I've gotten. So, that's it. That's some stuff right there.
So when I was in college, I was given the advice or the saying that has kind of lived with me: excuses are tools of the incompetent. And it was at a point when I made an excuse for not doing something. And that really, truly has stuck with me from that point on. Like, excuses are tools of the incompetent, and don't come with excuses. Own what you do. Own what you didn't do. And I have to think that probably is the best piece of advice I got, or best saying that has served as kind of a guiding principle for me.
I'm glad you prepped me on this, because of course there's lots of great pieces of advice, but the best piece of advice was from Dave Ramsey. He's very well known for, saying things like live on less than you make. Totally makes sense. He's not the first to ever say that either. But I remember one time listening to him, he was getting on one of his rants. This is early on. His rants are still great, but he was talking about get out of debt, do what you can, sacrifice, get out. And he said this one line, and it stuck with me forever. It says, you work too hard to be this broke. You work too hard to be this broke. And he said it in such a way, it just rocked me to my core. And ever since then, I mean, that was one of those moments where it's like, gosh darn it, I should be doing better with our money. My wife and I should be doing better with our money. We should be better than this. And that was kind of the time when we made that decision. In 2006, we decided that's it. We're paying off the car loan. That was our last debt. We paid it off in 1 year. After that, we have not borrowed a penny, not for anything. I don't have any credit cards, nothing. I mean, that's pretty dramatic when you think about it. So that would be my best piece of advice that's ever been given to me.
Thanks for listening to the Learning on Fire podcast. For more information, please visit educationonfire.com and follow the links from the homepage. This show is sponsored by the National Association for Primary Education. Education is not the filling of a pail, but the lighting of a fire.